I'm joined here in the studio by Benjamin Reed-Hurwitz, Head of Research Development for EMEA and North America at ISS Market Intelligence, and he's also lead author of the Pridham Report. In this video, Ben is going to walk us through how portfolio construction is evolving across the UK market and what fund managers need to pay attention to as allocator dynamics shift heading into 2026. We're going to be breaking down the trends across MPS, unitized multi-asset and advisor-managed portfolios, and we're going to explore where the opportunities lie for managers looking to stay competitive. Well, Ben, what have been some of the standout trends in portfolio construction among UK IFAs in 2025? What can we expect for the year ahead?
Yeah, I think one big trend we're watching is sort of consolidation. When we look at the platform data that ISS Market Intelligence has, we see the top 50 portfolio solutions providers. So this is talking about unitized multi-asset in MPS, controlling roughly 50% of all the investment fund gross sales going through platforms. So understanding how this is playing out, understanding the decisions these sort of top 50 make is very important to understanding the broader context of what's happening in the asset management industry. And I think related to that is sort of watching the growth of the two different portfolio solution types. So looking at the growth of unitized multi-asset, we saw that pick up post really the CGT conversations of late, and we have seen sort of an increase in net sales and gross sales. But it does remain the case in our data that model portfolios are sort of the single biggest way that portfolios are being constructed for clients through the platform market. So again, understanding the dynamics happening within MPS, the portfolios they're building, and really thinking about how much of this growth will continue.
Well, let's drill down into MPS first of all. So what's changing in that sector of the market? What do asset managers need to be aware of?
So one thing I think we need to understand is I believe the business is maturing. It is growing quickly. It still is bringing significant net sales in. But when we take a gross sales perspective, it's growing, but it's sort of slowing down in the share of the business in terms of investment gross sales it's taking. Whereas the net sales it's generating, though, is because it's winning a greater share of new money than it had of sort of the existing books of business. So as long as that continues, we're going to continue to see MPS and net sales. That really puts MPS in the driver's seat. In many ways, as the largest portfolio constructor, I think they're today's finfluencers in a sense when it comes to the advisor market. And what I mean by this is many of them have stories of growth, and therefore people are watching more closely the selections they make. So the selections they make, I actually think have a bigger impact beyond just the flows I'm talking about. And the biggest trend is really the drive towards blended portfolios. The solutions being selected tend to be a blended portfolio of active passive, and therefore understanding the opportunity for asset managers in that context. Where are they using passive? Where are they using active? What are they looking to sort of derive from that? And really kind of encapsulating this conversation is there is a heavy sort of cost-conscious focus on the portfolio. And that means the underlying funds need to fit into that. So that means that's where this strong use of low-cost passives coming in, and then the high alpha generators to really complement that. But it's also creating innovation among asset managers, and we've seen the rise of sort of systematic index investing, enhanced indexing, factor investing, as well as systematic active, which tends to have a lower price tag, and we're seeing more competition between active and passive. So even the idea of active and passive is really become a spectrum. And it's really all of this that's opening up new opportunities, new room for asset managers to collaborate themselves, and really having a big impact on the market. Because I said, MPS is leading on net sales, so it's really telling its story much more than sort of other channels.
Well, that's MPS. What's the outlook for unitized multi-asset funds?
So I think there's still a very strong outlook for unitized multi-asset. And as I've spoken about, its flows did turn around in 2024, and we've seen them remain strong. And interestingly, we see a very similar dynamic in unitized multi-asset as MPS. And this has come about a bit more recently, but it does match the trend. There's blending. But blending often in this perspective is the use of a lower cost passive portfolio and blending it with a higher cost, more active multi-asset portfolio. And then by combining them, once again, you're achieving that same thing. I think the important thing to talk about when it comes to unitized and MPS is also to understand the meaning of active. A lot of what I'm talking about is active in terms of the underlying single strategy and component parts. But of course, there is also an understanding of what value is the portfolio manager themselves really adding to the portfolio. And we sort of see a range of approaches occurring there. But to turn back to the original question, I think it's important to understand this broader context. But there's an opportunity for model portfolios, unitized multi-asset, and there still is a thriving market of advisors building their own portfolios. It's all about segmentation, though, to sort of see that view.
Well, when it comes to advisor-built portfolios, what are the trends there?
So, in this is where I come back to the idea that I think model portfolio providers in many ways are the influencers, or they're having an outsized influence. Yes, they have become very large, but I think some of how they're building portfolios is influencing sort of the broader market as well. So one thing we've seen within sort of where advisors are still picking funds is there has also been a growing sort of use of passives, and there is a growing movement towards blended portfolios. It is true in the other solution spaces, we tend to see more of a blend between active and passive, but it's moving in much the same direction. But I think the other thing to understand is the aggregate numbers often show that sort of this is the market where MPS has taken some of the money. And while that's true, there is still a dedicated audience there. But like the other three, I'm going to keep going back to segmentation. I like to tell clients, segment twice, sell once. Because in each of the users of these portfolio construction methods, whether it's sort of do it yourself for the advisor or using a solution provider, MPS or unitized multi-asset, we really see distinct preferences at sort of the firm level and the advisor level. And that's really, it's about segmentation. The broader trend, though, is towards the blend.
Well, looking ahead, and I hope this isn't too big a question, what's the future of portfolio construction in the UK?
Isn't that the $1 million question? So I think we're in a period of transition. So I do think when we look at 2026, I still expect model portfolios from a net sales perspective to look most positive, unitized multi-asset to sort of continue doing well, and there to still be some conversions of sort of financial advisors building their own portfolios to one of the other solution types. And in some ways, there's everything in between, because actually one of the big trends that's coming out is really co-opetition. What I mean by co-opetition is there are many large consolidators, these large now distribution groups, who partner with one of these providers, and there's almost an element of do-it-yourself and outsourcing to an expert. And we see more of these launches. And again, we're seeing a lot of partnerships between these model providers, because some of them are part of larger asset managers, some of them are solutions providers alone. They're finding more room to work together. So it's becoming sort of a more interesting space, one with lots of opportunity, real shades between active and passive, but then real shades between outsourcing. We study very closely sort of in-source versus outsource, but there's a lot more customization coming in the middle. And I think the biggest trend to watch, and this isn't just a UK trend, but a global trend, is around customization. But it's about where the customization is occurring, and this is related to the partnership conversation. Is it a customized portfolio for the client? Is it a customized portfolio for the advisor? Is it a customized portfolio for the distributor group? Is it a customized portfolio or building blocks for the portfolio for the solution provider? And we're sort of seeing all shades, and that's really where it's getting interesting, because then the next step is really looking at where the revenue is sort of falling out, who's taking the biggest revenue share, and we're sort of seeing a lot of movement on that front.
We have to leave it there. Benjamin Reed-Hurwitz, thank you.
Thank you.